As a platform, I absolutely despise TikTok. I think that it is a cesspool of cringy, of just the cringiest people doing the cringiest things for the cringiest people, responding in the cringiest ways. There really is no other way to describe the platform of TikTok than that. I'm not saying there isn't good content on there, but broadly, the content on TikTok is quite cringy, okay? The political content on there is cringy. The non-political content is cringy on there. Everything on there, for the most part, is pretty cringy. That is nothing new, my friends. TikTok is a platform with large appeal to young people. And any platform, especially on the internet, that's had large appeal to young people has basically been a dumping ground for all of the awkward, strange, weird behavior and shit that you do when you're a cringy young teenager. And it just becomes a cesspool and a dumping ground for all of that, where it kind of stays there forever, if I'm being honest. Let me give you guys an idea. Back in the day, the equivalent of this would probably have been like Tumblr or even DeviantArt. Hey chat, how many of you guys have an old DeviantArt account somewhere with some old scribbles you drew that are just cringy as fuck? Either the art's really bad or what you drew was really cringy, and it's just yeah. Like tons of people have that kind of thing, right? Or like maybe have some like fan fiction you drew like as a kid hidden somewhere in your room or some shit like that. Like that type of cringy behavior, as time has gone on and as our technology has become more advanced and more accessible to young people, we've basically only platformed more and more that cringy, awkward phase of these young kids' lives who are existing on the internet, and in many cases, then bullying them for it. That's all this is. That's all TikTok is. TikTok really just is a website that no. I'm saying right now what makes TikTok so cringe is there's nothing special about TikTok that makes it makes the people on it so cringy. All it is just a platform that makes it so easy and accessible to put out content even for a very young audience. In fact, it is marketed towards a very young audience that if you're a young cringy kid and you have a spur of the moment cringy little idea you want to throw together, you can easily do that and upload it for the whole world to see. And there's nothing wrong with it. Now, normally, when that kind of thing happens, in the past, it would never see the light of day. But nowadays, there's the internet. And now there's a bunch of losers online who have built careers on making fun of those kids who are just being normal kids and going through that awkward phase in their life and being a little bit cringy. Hell, plenty of people even on TikTok who aren't kids are also cringy. And plenty of adults have their cringe moments. TikTok just seems to sort of show that a little bit more. YouTube does the same thing. YouTube does the exact same thing in many respects, as does streaming. The only difference is that there's a little bit of a higher barrier of entry for YouTube and streaming than there is for TikTok. TikTok's pretty easy. Grab your phone and you can put out some surprisingly high quality edits and stuff on there with very simple phone maneuvers. TikTok is pretty low barrier of entry, right? So you can just very easily film something and so basically this has resulted in TikTok becoming naturally almost like a new version of Tumblr, only instead of it just being pictures and text posts like Tumblr, there are actual videos with audio and motion and talking, which just adds a whole new layer of personality to it than old cringy Tumblr posts. So yeah, basically, TikTok has become the new Tumblr. It's nothing new. There's nothing special about it. It's just people on there being how people have always been. TikTok just makes it a little bit more obvious. However, we're going to be watching a video today by Upper Echelon Gamers, who is a conservative, I guess, YouTuber who did a video called TikTok is Destroying a Generation. And what a title that is. It has 0.083 million views on YouTube, as you can see. So certainly not doing too bad for itself at all. So let's go ahead and hop right on in, huh? Should be a great old time.
Okay, finally back from vacation, so it's time to start back in with a somewhat normal routine. First things first, I'm thinking about changing the channel name to just Upper Echelon instead of Upper Echelon Gamers.
Please do.
The content wouldn't be changing at all,
Please
just the
do.
name, so let me know your thoughts down below. With that out of the way, let's discuss TikTok, because I believe that the app is verifiably impacting almost an entire generation of the human species in a decidedly negative way. Before getting started, I want to go on a bit of a tangent here. September 22nd...
I should say, by the way, this is the new version of rock and roll music is destroying children. I want to make it very clear to you guys. The whole like TikTok is bad for kids. TikTok is ruining a generation. Like this is just rock and roll and rap music and video games are making kids violent, but a whole new generation of it. The dudes who were like dunking on the Republicans saying... Like, the dudes who used to dunk on the old-ass American politicians who would say video games cause violence back in the day have now reached the level of adult age where they are now adopting essentially the same mindset, only on a completely different issue. They have the same boomer dumb fuck mindset, and they're applying the same exact logic that people that I imagine guys like this, and this guy himself probably, once would, you know, make fun of, but they're just applying the same logic to a different issue and they don't see it. It's just fear-mongering. It's a moral panic. That's what this is. That's the word for it, a moral panic.
2nd, 2020, I posted a video to the channel titled Why I Hate TikTok. Now, ordinarily this would have just been like any other video, but this time it actually wasn't. When posting content on YouTube, there is a number of different viewership patterns that can occur. The most common format is a large initial spike and then eventual plateau when the content has been viewed by your subscriber base, subsequently dropping out of algorithmic favorability afterwards. That's the most common format for this channel in particular, and for many others on the platform as well. Sure. However, the most common format is not always the most desirable. The best viewership pattern is usually called evergreen content, and it occurs when a video becomes embedded in the algorithm and ranks highly enough in popular search terms or general browse features to continue gaining traction over time in a very reliable way. This type of content is effectively the holy grail for us creators because it can result in hundreds of thousands or millions of views over the span of years. Some of my Red Dead Redemption 2 guides way back in the day achieved this level of indexing and are now crossing the multi-million view threshold with reliable results for the past 36 months at least. Making content that achieves this level of tenacity is not exactly easy or predictable. And
it really isn't. You'd think that'd be really easy to predict when a video is going to do well or not do well, but it really is hard to figure it out. You know, the algorithm is like a constantly... It's impossible to figure out the algorithm because it's always changing. The second you think you figured it out, something has changed and you immediately have to adapt. Like the second things, like you think you figured it out, you've got like a few days before you have to adapt and change things up again to keep in the algorithm's favor. It's pretty wild. But yeah, evergreen content, pretty hard to achieve. As you said before, that's content that consistently maintains interest in the algorithm for a long period of time. Basically, like a good example of evergreen content is FPS Rush's channel. We brought him up last stream, but like, if you go look at his channel, his videos are still getting like thousands of views per day, despite him not uploading in 5 years, because it's all like so well done and good content that like it's still worth watching and it's timeless. It like no matter what time in history you're watching, it's still going to be worth watching if that's what you're into. It's hard to make content that way, and it can be difficult to like predict when a video will be that.
For me personally, it's only happened a handful of times. One of those times was September 22nd, 2020. The video I posted, the video titled Why I Hate TikTok, pushed beyond my average view count on the channel and continues even now to climb well beyond most of the other content that I've ever posted. Normally, I wouldn't even notice, but over the past few weeks, a variety of different factors have aligned, which made me realize why that occurred and spurred me to once again discuss the topic, this time defining why I believe that TikTok is effectively a viral form of societal poison, and it is well on its way to destroying an entire generation. It all starts with the...
Okay. It should be immediately disqualifying when you're making a YouTube video to talk about your opinion on a social media app and you're saying, and you're using catastrophic language like, an entire generation is being destroyed. This is a societal poison. This is propaganda. When people use words like this should set red flags off to you immediately. This type of hyperbole, to me, should be indicative of two things, okay? Either someone is being hyperbolic for the sake of comedy and satire, and you shouldn't take them seriously, which clearly isn't the implication of this video. You are very clearly supposed to take this video seriously, or they are making propaganda. Which of those two options do you think this is? Absurdist satire that you're not meant to take seriously, or propaganda?
The advent of internet dominance. Early stage internet usage and functionality was largely relegated to scientific research, military industrial projects, and fail-safe protections during the Cold War, but in the early 1980s, something changed. At the start of 1983, a new protocol was established, TCP/IP, which allowed different kinds of computers on different networks to communicate with each other.
Okay. We're speeding this up, homie. We don't need to learn about IP addresses, okay? I know what IP addresses are.
This is widely regarded as the unofficial birth of the modern internet age.
Because I have yours.
And this fundamental building block is what allowed nearly everything else we know today to become possible. The internet became a staple of modern life. Commerce, accounting, security, entertainment, all of it.
Okay. Guys, in all seriousness, the website, if you make an account on the website, it does have your IP address. But to be completely honest with you guys, that isn't much. That isn't much. It's not much at all. There's sort of like I want to debunk sort of an internet myth, like an internet, what's the term for it? It's like a, I guess it's a synonym for myth, urban legend, like an internet urban legend. It's really hard to find someone's address with their IP address, like someone's home address with their IP address. Mostly you're really like only going to be able to find like their state, their city maybe at the most, maybe only even their country. And if they're using a VPN, it's even harder, right? Like there is like a pretty big internet urban legend of, oh, I have your IP address. Good luck, buddy. I'm on my way to your house. Like there was a time where it was very easy to do that. Nowadays, it seems to be significantly harder, particularly because basically every single ISP now uses like rotating IP addresses. Like your public facing IP address is constantly changing and like being swapped out so that it's never static, right? It's never static. And it's always like so broadly localized that like you can never like pin anything down. I watched a really interesting video about this yesterday, actually. And this is how I learned about that. There's this farmer couple that like bought a house in the middle of like Kansas or something, and they're right in the middle of the state, right in the middle of the state. And whenever a call to police dispatch or the FBI or anything like that goes out to from an IP address that can't be like localized specifically to anything other than America, then they give the specific coordinates of the center of America, which happens to be these people's property. So for years, these guys have been getting hundreds of police, pizzas, fucking just overwhelming amounts of like shit coming to their house because the default was always their coordinates whenever the IP would just show America, you know? I always found that to be pretty funny.
Tandem to these utility-driven industries, there was a social aspect. Early examples like 6 Degrees or Friendster paved the way for superior projects like Facebook to arise in 2004. As of 2021, there were an estimated 4.6 billion internet users on planet Earth, and 4.1 billion of those users use social media. Further stats can be found that describe user habits, such as the staggering revelation that users who participate on social media platforms utilize, on average, over 6 different options in their daily lives. Average daily usage time is over 2 hours.
Yes, social media addiction's real. It is indeed real. Social media addiction is real.
And if someone began their social media journey at age 16, for example, using the platforms until age 70 or thereabouts, they would spend nearly 6 years of their life on these websites. All of this is to...
That little? From the age of 16 to 70, only 6 years on those websites? That's so little time. I'd expect at least a decade. Like, at least a decade. Like for me, It's got to be way more time than that. Like, because what is considered being on Twitter, for example, right? Like, for me, Twitter is always open on my other monitor. If I get a notification, I see it on my other monitor, usually, if I'm at my computer, which is almost always, because my job's at my computer, my social life for the most part's at my computer. You know, like we're in a pandemic for the last few years, so I don't go out much anyway, because of that. I imagine my fucking time on Twitter must be significantly higher. Or on any tech platform, really.
Establish one crucial idea. Social media has become an integrated part of our lives, and when the average user, one of over 4 billion people, is spending more time on social media than...
Something I've found that I have a problem with is that, like, certain people online will take a thing that's a real issue and worth being concerned about, but exaggerate it to the point of basically becoming like a conspiracy theory, right? And it makes things really frustrating, because then I can't tell, like, if I'm talking to, especially because populism tends to be like pretty nonpartisan, it seems. Like, you'll meet like a left-wing populist and a right-wing populist who agree on a bunch of like populist talking points, but completely disagree on a bunch of like actual like social political positions, like whether or not gay people should be allowed to live. And then they'll like prioritize those populist beliefs over anything else. And it's like, well, you know, that guy thinks that like we should have conversion therapy for gay people, right? And then the left-wing populist is like, yeah, but he thinks capitalism sucks. And it's like, come on. Really? That always frustrates me. But one thing I've noticed is that big tech, okay? Big tech is worth worrying about, okay? Big tech is called big tech for a reason. It's because they're big. They're getting a lot of power. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of influence behind them. And most of these tech platforms, from Twitter to Facebook to whatever, have basically become the new public square. They have a ridiculous amount of power. So much so to the extent that you could almost argue that they have become like the government too, just as corporations all around the country are, right? Like, they are the second most powerful thing behind the government. I don't think that's a controversial statement to make, right? Like, even, I don't even think a liberal watching this who's like really, really capitalistic, like a full-on neoliberal, like capitalist type, who's watching this, I don't think they would disagree with the statement, the second most powerful entity in this country behind the government and its institutions are probably corporations. Because they're aggregations of very wealthy people, lots of individuals, lots of money, and lots of resources put together, acting as institutions in and of themselves. They are probably the second strongest thing in this world to the government, right? It is probably worth being worried when the second largest institutions in the world, besides the government, are gaining a bunch of power, mostly unchecked. It's worth that, right? When they're collecting your data, which I did give the opinion earlier that I don't have that big of an issue with personally, when like Twitter or whatever collects my data for targeted advertising. It doesn't bother me. But for many people, it does. For many people, it's a concern. And there are good reasons that it's a concern. However, for some fucking reason, you get people like this that have to over-exaggerate it, who have to say that when people get banned from Twitter, that it is the narrative of the secret agenda of lefties who've taken over. Sometimes they say it's the Jews. It's basically like there's the JQ and then there's the JQ light. Those are the two things that all right-wingers believe in, okay? So there's the like far right-wing people who believe that the Jews control the media and like all the institutions to push a left-wing narrative. And then there's the moderately right-wing people who believe that left-wing people have infiltrated all the institutions to push a certain left-wing narrative. It's the same thing. It's just once you get far right-wing enough, you just start saying it's the Jews instead of it just being left-wing people. Like they have to turn it into a conspiracy theory. Like there's a very completely acceptable and reasonable issue to take with big tech, but then it has to become a conspiracy theory about brain chips and like whether or not we're going to have like collars on us that are going to like track our locations so Elon Musk knows. Like that might be a little bit too too wild when we can have a real conversation about real existing things that these companies are doing to break the privacy of their users.
They do eating or drinking combined on a daily basis, it signifies that this activity has become something larger than a simple hobby. Social media, on average, again, has become a primary piece of our very existence. Why does this matter? Simply put, it matters because of the detrimental effects. From 2013 to 2017, scientists in Denmark observed that collective hashtag longevity was steadily decreasing. In a study titled Accelerating Dynamics of Collective Attention, it was discovered that the average duration of a hashtag's trending dominance in the top 50, for example, had decreased from 17.5 hours to 11.9. This alone does not constitute definitive proof that our attention spans are...
This is the 24-hour news cycle. This has been going on for like since before the internet was a thing. Like since before the internet existed, since well before the internet existed in the state it exists now, in which YouTube was a thing and you could just upload videos to YouTube and live stream current events to Twitch. The 24-hour like news cycle was a thing. You flipped on the news and CNN had the news 24/7, constantly breaking news. This just happened here. Like that has been a thing for a long time. As the population of the earth has grown, our technology has advanced, and our ability to collect information about what's going on in the world at any given moment and very quickly get it out to the people has only grown. Our attention spans have gotten shorter. We've gotten spoiled with our ability to always know what the fuck is going on in the world, even on the other side of the planet at a moment's notice. A building could explode in Japan right now, and I could find out if my friend who lives across the street texts me instantly. I know a building across the world blew up because my friend texted me from across the street to tell me instantly, right? Like that could happen. You know, like you can watch the news and see live updates on a war that's happening in another country, like in Ukraine, on the other side of the world. Like this is a thing that naturally is going to happen as humanity progresses and our population grows and our access to technology and our ability to spread misinformation, our ability to spread information in general becomes more easy.
Shrinking, but in a further study titled Abundance of Information Narrows Our Collective Attention Span, that connection was well established and properly examined. Social media was contributing, and is contributing, to a reduction in average attention span. That's very important to understand because a low average attention span can come with a variety of risk factors: poor academic performance, communication struggles and relationship difficulties, or neglected health as a result of one's inability to practice reliable habits. These problems are not universal, but they absolutely do exist, and they're not...
These are real problems with social media addiction. That is true. It does, like, contribute... These are real problems that exist with social media addiction. You should, like, actually moderate your social media presence. Like, but this really is like nobody disagrees with this. Like, this is like what I find so strange about this type of content. Doesn't it feel like he's arguing as if someone disagrees with this? Who disagrees with the idea that like social media makes your attention span shorter, and thus shortening your attention span can have detrimental effects on your work and school life and your relationships? Like, who disagrees with this? Nobody does. Zuckerberg pretends to disagree with it because he was getting grilled about like his website and children. Or it wasn't even him that was getting grilled about it. It was like one of the high-ups at Facebook. I will admit, do you remember that one? Oh my God, we have to watch this. Can we? The biggest problem right now is that our government is not like capable. Like the people running it are too fucking old. Can I just show you guys this video? For those of you guys that don't know, a Finsta account is a alt account that teenage girls make that their parents can't see on social media. That is what a Finsta is, for those of you guys that don't know. For those of you who are not fresh out of high school and don't know the 3 years ago Zoomer lingo, that is what a Finsta is. So let's go ahead and watch this clip.
Will you commit to ending Finsta?
Senator, again, let me explain. We don't actually do Finsta. What Finsta refers to is young people setting up accounts where they may want to have more privacy. you refer to it as privacy from their parents. What in my interaction with teens, what I found is that they sometimes like to have an account where they can interact just with a smaller group of friends.
Well, Finsta is one of your.
We've actually.
Finsta is one of your products or services. We're not talking here about Google or Apple. It's Facebook, correct?
Finsta is slang for a type of account.
Okay, will you end that type of account?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're asking. What I can say is that based on what we've seen in terms of teens using those kinds of accounts, we've actually given them additional privacy options to address those kinds of issues where they want more privacy so that they can have more privacy.
Well, I don't think that's an answer to my question.
We're so fucked. Do you want to see how further it goes? Like, that seems bad, right? Like, that's pretty scary. Like, hypers, if you found that to be scary. Hypers, if the technological illiteracy there that was demonstrated to you was scary. Because it should be. It should be scary that our politicians don't understand the internet that poorly. Like, even upon having it explained to them. That's the thing. I don't expect that old fuck to understand what Finsta means. What I expect that old fuck to do is be smart enough to have something explained to him pretty concisely, and to be able to explain that concise explanation and operate off of that with that knowledge. That's what you should expect from a fucking politician. When they don't know a thing, they should be able to understand it when it's explained to them so they can continue to operate and do their job being somewhat informed, right? At least that's what you would hope. She gave him a direct answer, explained exactly to him why he is wrong, and then answered his question as to whether or not they were going to stop those accounts from existing. I mean, politicians endeavor to learn shit. It wasn't even an endeavor to learn shit. It was just she responded to a question he had, correcting him, and then he just refused to like acknowledge what she said. I'm sure some aspect of it was the fact that she's a woman. I mean, most older men I've found will like, listen, I've actually watched my uncle, I won't say which uncle, but I've watched one of my uncles, who I find to be the more misogynistic one personally, have a woman explain something to him, and he'll like go, and then she'll walk away. And then he'll be like, don't listen to anything she said. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And like we're at a boat dock or something, and this lady like explained it, and he was like, no, we don't listen to what she's saying. I don't like, he just like shoulder waved whatever this, like, I think she was like a park ranger. Like, she worked there. She knew what we were supposed to be doing there. Like how we were supposed to like get like the shit that we were doing there set up. It was just, I've seen my uncle do that. I've seen like grown older men do that kind of thing. Why do we have the same uncle? Yeah. That kind of shit scares me. But do you want to see something even scarier? Josh Palat, as you can see on the bottom right of the screen here, was a RuneScape player who went to prison for 6 years for making a school shooting joke in a RuneScape chat. And one of the things that the prosecution tried to get him on was that a few months prior to that, a friend had jokingly sent him... Actually, I'll let him explain it.
PKA 573 with our guest Josh Taylor. This episode of PKA brought to you by...
Oh, well, we'll just get to when he tells the story.
Repeatedly trying to get me on. Yes, I did. I did go to prison for a little bit longer than Kyle, although we were both at Talladega, just separated by a few razor wires.
Yeah, Kyle there is... How fitting is it that we're continuing the story from yesterday? Kyle there on the top right is FPS Russia. I'll go ahead and shrink myself a bit so it's a bit more obvious. But yeah, that's Kyle right there. It's FPS Russia. Yeah, both Kyle and him went to the same prison, the same federal prison in Talladega. He went to prison for the RuneScape joke, and he went to prison for having an ounce of weed.
Long story short, let me see how I've explained this in the past. I've given the rundown a few times. In 2012, I was playing an online video game known as RuneScape. It was one of my favorite games from age 2004 until I just logged off of it an hour ago. And I was very, very drunk playing with a friend of mine named Anthony that was trying to download me to convince me to download a game making light of a school shooting that happened in 1999.
How old are you?
I was 19 years old at the time, I'm going to say. So I was about to say that I was drunk. It wasn't legal already in and of itself because I was 19.
So you began the night by committing a crime.
Oh, I was already doing it big. I was doing it
Victimless
big
crime.
yeah, the victimless crime, not to the FBI. I did not think that the video game was very funny. I did Google it. I looked it up. I did not download it. The FBI said I downloaded it. We later had to actually make a point in court to get them to take it off the record that I downloaded it because I did not, even though the judge shrugged and said he didn't know what download meant anyway. He said, you can win on that point. I don't know what download means.
That's a horrible thing to run into in the middle of an internet crime. I don't understand the
It means
downloads.
possess. It means I had no possession of this game. It means I looked through the window of a store at it and walked away.
Exactly.
Well phrased.
That is the part I wanted to show you. The judge didn't know what download meant. And so when they argued, wait, no, prosecution is wrong here. He did not download this school shooting game. The judge said, I don't even know what download means, so I'll just give you that point. A judge on a case about internet terrorism, supposedly, about online terrorism threats.
Digital equivalent. That's very, very well phrased. I wish I would have thought to say that instead of saying,
no, I'm going to jail.
yeah, if I would have been, in a little bit of a better mindset, maybe I could have explained it better. But
I love that because that is the only response you can have to hearing the judge presiding over your fucking case and deciding whether or not you're going to go to prison. Say, I don't even know what download means.
I had no possession of this game. It means I looked through the window of a store at it and walked away.
Exactly.
Well
It's
phrased.
the digital equivalent. That's very, very well phrased. I wish I would have thought to say that instead of saying,
no, I'm going to jail.
yeah, if I would have been, in a little bit of a better mindset, maybe I could have explained it better. But anyways, me being drunk and in those days, admittedly being a little bit more hairy on the neck, if you will, I decided that a third party busted in and told me I was a dumbass for discussing this particular massacre at all, for even mentioning the name of it, and encouraged me to call him on the phone and end my life with him on the phone. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's a crime, but I don't think this guy got in trouble because my drunk ass decided, I said, I love that particular school shooting. Man, I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to do it myself. Ha, 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 ha. Motherfucker, I'm just kidding. Or I said I'm being sarcastic, and I had the long transcript. I just recently moved to New Orleans, and my paperwork's all put up. But I had the long transcript where I actually said it's called sarcasm. Nonetheless, 4 days later, I also said some things. That school can be gravel if I have anything to say about it. That word gravel becoming very important when it went before the grand jury.
Well, we don't need to watch more of it, but yeah, basically, he made some edgy fucking jokes in RuneScape chat and went to prison for 6 years. And was not a good idea to do that. My my uncle's best friend, when he was in high school, you gotta understand, when he was in high school, 9/11, or it was either Columbine, I think Columbine had just happened. I don't think it was 9/11 that had just happened. It was Columbine that had just happened. Columbine had happened like 4 months before, and my uncle and his best friend were at, I keep hearing uncle and I go, my uncle and his best friend were like, I remember the story, them being like on the basketball court inside the school, like indoor basketball court. And he made a joke about blowing up the school and the teacher heard it. He got expelled. Permanent expulsion from the school. Like 2 months after Columbine, that was a time where they were looking for anyone to make an example of. They made an example out of him. I remember that story specifically because it was the first time I ever heard the phrase made an example out of. Because that's what they did to him. They made an example out of him. 17-year-old kid, sophomore, junior in high school? It would have been junior. Junior in high school decided to fucking ruin his life. I think he got I think they arrested him. I think the cops came and picked him up from the school and took him to the station. I think he had an arrest on his record too. Like they over that joke he made to his friend that a teacher overheard in the gym. His criminal, he now has a criminal record over it and was expelled from the school where all of his friends and all of that was and everything. He had to repeat the grade. He had to repeat that grade. He had to come back he had to go to a different school the next school year to repeat the grade. And it was towards the end of the year too. So it was a real kick in the nuts to have to repeat your junior year, your second to last year of high school. You have to repeat. one of my classmates got expelled for writing something that sounded like a bomb threat on a piece of paper. They go here in America, when it comes to anything like that, jokes and any like writings, art, depictions in your textbook, anything like that, they are zero tolerance as fuck. School shootings, bomb threat, anything like that. You are GONE gone. Regardless, though, my main point is that our government and our elected officials are wholly incapable of operating online. And unfortunately, the ones among them who do know how the internet works have a financial incentive in giving as much freedom to those on the internet who would use the power of the internet to do harm as possible. You know, your MTGs and whatnot, your lobbied politicians by like large big tech companies, for example. All goes full circle.
Alone. Social media is lowering our attention span, which has various negative consequences, but how is that bad enough to deserve such an explosive video title? Here's why. In 2021, Curtin University published research indicating that individuals with a short attention span are at a significantly higher risk for psychological distress and related mental health issues as a result of high social media usage. This research delved into the idea of attention control impacting one's resistance to advertising, among other things, just as one example, and highlighted how those with a decreased attention span were susceptible to increased emotional manipulation, unattainable ideals, and exacerbated...
But what does this have to do with TikTok? Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that social media is toxic, and like especially websites like Facebook and Instagram, where people are like always posting their real nice pictures with the good lighting and everything and all their fun times, give off an impression to everybody else their life sucks, and give unrealistic expectations and standards to each other. Like, everybody knows this. This has been like known about. I've known this since I was 12. Okay, this would not have been considered a hot take to me when I was 12 years old. Okay, and I'm 22. This is not like, you're not breaking new ground. You're not breaking ice here. You're not treading new ground. You're not charting new territory.
Feelings of depression or anxiety as a result of the content that they watched. However, this is a wider concept stretching beyond TikTok alone, so why is the focus primarily there, at least for this video? The best explanation is that TikTok has a remarkable ability to influence youth behavior. In June of 2021, research began to emerge about how tics, as in facial tics or behavioral tics, were spreading through the platform, and a few months later, medical research began to appear, indicating that there had been a dramatic rise in tic-like behavior, physical...
We've already seen this study. We've already seen this brought up. Do you want to know what this reminds me of? There's a reason why I did my big tirade at the beginning of this segment, because a lot of the things that these people complain about being a problem on TikTok, well, they're just perfect analogies to point back to with other websites. Do you guys remember the pro-Anna communities on Reddit and on Tumblr? This is more of like a 2014, 2013, 2012 internet era thing. Pro-Anna is short for pro-anorexia. There used to be a very, very big moral panic on YouTube and in all of these spaces from around 2012, especially to 2016, getting upset about how the promoting of unhealthy body types on certain subreddits and on Tumblr especially was causing harm to the young people on those sites. That was the narrative. Basically replace everything this guy has said. Replace tics with like anorexia and eating disorders, and then replace TikTok with Tumblr, and then just repeat everything this guy has said, and you've more or less got exactly what the narrative was about Tumblr and those subreddits back in the day. There has always been communities in which people with certain disorders have come together and made sort of a mutual sort of community around it, and others online who perhaps have a little bit of an overactive imagination perhaps end up believing that they have that as well, and maybe the placebo effect results in them sort of adapting a few of those symptoms. That is a thing that happens. That is a real thing that happens, where people start to believe enough that they have a certain disorder, and then they start exhibiting symptoms of said disorder involuntarily. The human brain is very weird and complicated. It's a thing that's happened. It's a real thing. Though, let's not go full Dr. K here, okay? Placebo is not a reliable treatment for the vast majority of things. Yeah, so this is not like a new thing. This is not a surprising thing. This is just the new moral panic, okay? Let's not pretend like this whole TikTok is going to cause a generation of kids to suddenly spontaneously develop tics because they're watching content about it. It's not going to happen. If anything, you're going to have a collection of impressionable teenagers who do end up subconsciously developing tics that probably wear off as they get older and sort of mature out of TikTok. TikTok's not going to maintain its popularity forever, okay? Vine and Musical.ly had just as much popularity and cultural relevance as TikTok when they were in their peak, and they died out. Something always comes along, some new website that's able to bring along a quicker, more quippy, more dopamine-inducing content loop will come along to replace it. It's as simple as that. That's all TikTok is. That's why TikTok is so popular. TikTok is so popular and is currently the most popular social media site in the world, I believe, because they have perfected, as far as I can tell, perfected the loop, the serotonin, the dopamine release loop, okay? The periods between dopamine releases from your brain when on TikTok are so fucking short. It is immediate short, very short videos, immediate, very short little joke or funny thing that makes you go, and then right on to the next one instantly. It just slides right on. You don't even have to touch the screen. It autoplays.
Behavior for young females during the COVID pandemic. This dramatic rise coincides directly with a viral trend on TikTok where users were displaying...
Yeah, there was MySpace, and then there was Facebook, and then there was Instagram. Well, I'm trying... I feel like Instagram and Twitter kind of came along at the same time and kind of dethroned Facebook with the younger generation. And then there was Snapchat, and then there was Vine, and then there was Musical.ly, and now there's TikTok. And now there's OnlyFans. Haha.
Their behavioral tics in everyday situations. TikTok is proven to be capable of impacting youth behavior in a significant way, and in my previous video I focused on scams, disgusting trends, or child predation even, but I realized that the actual problem is much more broad. The functionality of TikTok is designed for rapid digestion. Videos are short, between 15 and 60 seconds.
Hey, that's what I said.
Users tend to watch even just a much smaller segment of that already condensed format. The application spurs tremendous engagement, and users are spending, on average, over 80 minutes at least per day on this one platform.
Hey, is it maybe a little bit too much for my ego whenever I make a point that's I make a point that is only a small component of my argument, and then later on in the video, the person who I'm responding to makes the same point, but it's their entire argument. Because you see, this guy's entire ideology, this guy's life experience, his brain cells, his entire consciousness could exist inside of mine. His entire consciousness is proportionally just the equivalent of a tiny little nodule that would come off of my consciousness. It exists in my own. It is a component of my own argument, a component of my own thought process. He is but a percentage of my power. Elden Ring when? That was a little bit of Elden Ring lore right there.
Platform alone. From the very beginning, it was marketed at children. The founders understood their primary demographic and targeted them very effectively, more recently even being hit with widespread legal action in Europe over their hidden initiatives to target minors on the platform for various challenges and advertising. Most importantly, in late December...
For those of you guys that don't know what lore I was referencing there are these guys in Elden Ring. They're called pot boys, but they're these pot dude. They're living pots with arms and legs, and they're basically the ground up human bodies of random adventurers and fighters turned into people, turned into living beings that are just big fucking pot men with arms and legs that can fight real good, and they have all the combined experience and might of all the warriors that are condensed into their pot that they're made out of. And that's the joke that I'm referencing. This guy is just a mushed up remain of just one of the many consciousnesses that exist inside of me that is the pot boy. I am the pot boy. Hell, I'm even smoking pot right now. Where is it? There it is. Did the bit go on too long? Did I go too far into the bit?
of 2021, according to Cloudflare, TikTok officially surpassed Google as the most visited domain name on planet Earth. Conceptually, that is alarming because Google, maintaining its dominance for an extended period of time, is a portal to nearly every other popular website in existence. Yet TikTok, as a domain name, surpassed even the utility of finding other content through a search engine in popularity. Not to mention the existence of Google Maps, Google Photos, email, news, etc., which are all factored into that calculation. TikTok boasts over 1 billion users. Its primary traffic is contained right now to the United States for the moment, but it operates globally with a rapidly growing footprint. The short-form content seems to have a direct impact on attention span, decreasing it in a noticeable way. The application has been aimed at a youthful demographic since day one, very deliberately, and successfully influenced their behavior, their physical behavior, on more than one occasion, up to and including movement disorders like behavioral tics.
Okay. I don't like articles that are written like this. These are generally not a good source for any, like, this is not a good source to back up a scientific claim. Insert claim professor says, or insert claim study says. Like, these are usually not the kind of sources you want to go to. If anything, you want to go check the study itself. But, like, you ever, like, go on Facebook and you're scrolling through, it could literally be any professor. Yeah, it could be Professor Jordan Peterson who said TikTok rewrites your psyche, and that would be the article. And, you know, this looks very, you know, professional. You know, you could probably send this to somebody, and if they just looked it over, they'd be like, looks professional enough to me, looks credible enough to me. But, like, you should look out for titles like this, because no study ever says a claim. Anytime you see an article that says study claims blank, immediately just throw that article away. Throw it the fuck away. No study says anything. No study claims anything. Studies are simply, well, aggregations of data and information collected from a study that was done. The way that you get a conclusion out of that is when that data is synthesized, organized, and people peer review it, scientists peer review it, and derive a conclusion from that data. So while this does say a professor says this, it should say scientists say or something like that. And then it should have, you know, linked studies. That's usually what I look for when it comes to, does this look like a good source to get to, like, go off of? Like, if it's an article, this is an op-ed. This looks like it's written as an op-ed. That's the vibe I'm getting from it.
Behavior on more than one occasion, up to and including movement disorders like behavioral tics. Shorter attention spans increase the relative risk for users of social media, which means, right, and bear with me here, that TikTok simultaneously decreases one's attention span, impacts their behavior, and serves as a platform where the social media risk factors of a decreased attention span can be experienced and realized. TikTok exacerbates, then fulfills the problem at the same time in a closed loop, and the average time that children spend on the platform is rapidly increasing every day.
This is every single social media platform. This is YouTube as well, my friend. I'm sorry. You will never hear dudes like this shit talk YouTube in this way. But, like, every single one of the people who watched this video probably went and watched another YouTube video right after. You know, most of the people who watched this probably spent the next 2 hours watching YouTube. Most people who are watching content like this on YouTube are probably just as addicted to YouTube as they claim these kids are addicted to TikTok. Believe me, they are. I'm addicted to YouTube. The thing I'm probably most addicted to in the world is probably YouTube. I don't watch TV or movies or TV shows much. Most of the content I watch, most of the entertainment I get is from YouTube. And if I was asked, would you rather have YouTube forever and never be able to watch any new movie or TV show or anything else ever again, only whatever's on YouTube and new stuff that gets uploaded there, or or vice versa, I would pick YouTube every time. To me, there is so much more entertainment value already on YouTube. Even if nobody ever uploaded again, there's more entertainment value existing on YouTube at this very second than there is or in my lifetime ever will be on TV or in movies. Simple as that.
Dethroning even Google as the most popular website on the planet. TikTok has become an epicenter of provocative trends. Remember how the company is under fire in Europe, legally speaking, for its targeted advertising at children and the challenges? Yeah, I'm talking about those. Recently, even including a widespread threat of violence in the United States. The trend started as a plea for children to stay home from school in mid-December because there might be something going on, and evolved to include bomb threats and other inflammatory content, triggering an actual police response all across the entire country, which equates to a legitimate, measurable, and significant waste of resources. TikTok trends and activity challenges have included things like...
That's not an argument in favor of what you're saying, though. Kids have been swatting each other since, like, Modern Warfare 2 and before. People have been swatting each other since CS Source. Welcome to the internet. People harass each other, dox each other, swat each other, make bomb threat jokes that cause international incidences. You ever watched Wavy Web Surf, the YouTuber? Listen, Upper Echelon Gamers, if you ever watched this YouTube video, I highly recommend you check out the YouTuber Wavy Web Surf, because if you think that TikTok has been the onset of this crazy type of shit happening online, you are wholly mistaken. In fact, I'd argue that the kind of shit that's happened because of TikTok is baby shit compared to the old internet.
Like the blackout challenge, where children were tasked with holding their breath until they fainted. There was the penny challenge, where kids were pushing pennies behind partially plugged in phone chargers, which can have many dangerous results. Or even the tooth file challenge, where videos went viral of children filing their own teeth and causing permanent damage. More so than...
Okay. This guy cannot make the argument that, like, something that started out as a joke and people said that they were doing it ironically, but then people thought it was serious and then started doing it unironically. You can't say that's a problem. And then I guarantee this motherfucker would disagree if I said, yeah, so when you make certain types of jokes about insert, minority, do you think maybe that can lead to, like, people actually believing that for real? Because they start to take it seriously? Guarantee this guy will be like, no, you're taking it, no, it's just jokes. No, you're taking it too seriously. Come on, man, no. Like, guarantee that's what this guy would do. Guarantee that's what this guy would do. Every single time I watch a content creator in this section of the political space, that is the argument they make when it comes to how their humor could have a certain effect on their audience. They always hand wave it. But now he's making the same argument, using the same logic that we do. I wonder if he'd be consistent on that. I don't know if this guy's ever made that argument. I don't know if he's ever made that argument. But I'd be curious if he would. Zan just admit that TikTok trends are especially dangerous. Are they especially dangerous? I don't know if it is, because, like, I'm just thinking back to all the dumb shit that kids on the internet were doing on YouTube now. I'm thinking back to, like, the cinnamon challenge. Do you guys remember the cinnamon challenge? Like deadly challenges that were fucking stupid have been a thing since before TikTok. Wasn't the Tide Pod thing before TikTok? I'm pretty sure the cinnamon challenge and the Tide Pod thing were both before TikTok. Yeah, this is not a new thing. Why are you guys so fixated on the idea of these being a new thing? And I'll be honest why you guys think it's a new thing. It's because TikTok is the newest, most fresh, spiciest, and annoying, cringy platform to dunk on. So having any excuse to try to argue that not only is TikTok cringy and, like, annoying and the people on it kind of obnoxious, not only is it annoying and obnoxious, which already drives clicks when you're making fun of it, it's actually detrimental to society. Have you ever noticed that, chat? The best way to get more attention from people online, especially as a YouTuber making videos, is to escalate your mocking of someone who you think is ridiculous to then claiming that their behavior is a threat to society. That's what they did with the anti-SJW movement. Do you remember? At first it was, haha, we're making fun of the SJWs. Aren't they such a joke? Haha, look at them. And then it evolved to, well, now they actually have power, so we're actually fighting against an enemy that is very powerful. And then it became a fear-mongering fest about how dangerous this enemy really is. Oh, yeah, or just, like, the posting of harming yourself, like Nikocado Avocado, which has been, like, his behavior has been a thing for a long time. Or, hell, go back to the old prank videos on YouTube. You guys remember Sam Pepper? Do you guys remember the Sam Pepper's now known as, like, a crypto scammer who does rug pull scams in their audience, but back in the day, Sam Pepper was a douche tuber. douche tuber is a category of YouTuber. It should be pretty easy to put together what I mean when I say that. Your J Stations, your Keemstars, you know what I mean. Your douche tubers. He was a douche tuber who did Rice Gum would be a douche tuber. He did a prank video where he basically pretended to be kidnapped along with his friend, and then had a friend of his pretend to be the kidnapper, and then fake a murder in front of his friend, like putting a gun to his friend's head, it had a blank in it, I think. I think it was like he put a gun with a blank in it to the head, pull the trigger, and then he like falls over, and then it's like dark, so I don't think the friend tied up in the chair who isn't in on it understood. And then it's like, oh no, it's just, and the friend's screaming and crying apparently, because I don't remember if this was a fake prank or not. People thought it was real, and that's what caused all the drama back in the day. But like the guy's crying and screaming, and he thinks he's gonna die. He thinks he just witnessed his best friend dying. And then Sam Pepper takes off the fucking bag and is like, no, it's okay. It's just a prank, bro. That's where it's just a prank, bro comes from, by the way, is when his friend is crying after thinking that he just got murdered and he's about to get killed. He's like, no, don't worry, man. It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank. It's just a prank, bro. That's where that meme comes from, for those of you guys that don't know.
Probably any other social media platform entirely, TikTok is capable of modifying behavior. At the same time, it shortens attention spans and then triggers the intrinsic dangers of social media for those with attention control issues, making it a one-stop shop for nearly every single thing that should not be happening online for 100 million children. In fact, as per the most recent numbers that I could find, TikTok's user base likely contains something like 600 million children, including 63% of American teenagers ages 12 to 17, actively using the platform. All of this ignores other fundamental problems with the app, like an unregulated and highly sexualized environment that awards behavior that any good parent would rightly condemn. But rather than talking mostly about specifics this time, I want to focus...
Can we talk about... Okay. This is what upsets me so much about videos like this, and how it's meant to be propaganda. The implication through all of this is that, TikTok is certainly a more left-wing platform. The people he is targeting with this message... or targeting in his messaging are clearly more left-wing. There is an obvious right-wing implication. I mean, we can look at the comments, and I'm sure we'll see some political, references here. For attention span, I'm a psychology student writing a thesis about the internet media effects and how shocking it is. We're all addicted. So far, not too bad. Okay, this is some weird, like, the Reddit, Tumblrite type shit. Is kind of like referencing that. For the most part, I'm actually pretty happy to see the comment section seems fine. Honestly, I'm surprised. The comment section doesn't seem to have like normally, if I'm trying to gauge whether or not I think a video had like a harmful effect, I'll look at the comment section. If like all the top comments or most of the top comments are like, heh, that fucking 1350 Jews, the Sheckler, whatever. Like if it's stuff like that, when I look in the comments, that usually gives me a pretty good perspective. But if it's just like nothing all that problematic in the comments, I'm like, okay, doesn't really seem like the video had that much of an effect. I will say this guy has made lots of videos that are pretty clearly like right-wing politically motivated, and no doubt that is where he is being motivated from. And the implication throughout the video is obviously that this is a lefty TikTok issue, right? This is the lefties on TikTok are causing this problem. My question is, what is the solution? I'm of the opinion that kids really shouldn't be on the internet. Like, if I had a kid, I probably would really manage how much they're on the internet. I think there's a lot of parts of the internet that I would never, ever deny my kid. Like, for example... I would never deny my child, if I had a kid, the same like upbringing I had on the internet at the same time. Like to the same, maybe in some respects I would cut down on things, but like, for example, I'm glad that I grew up watching YouTubers who like were really raunchy. I watched a lot of like Fods and Skitscape, Uber Haxer Nova. Like those were like some of my favorite YouTubers growing up. When I was younger, forming my sort of personality, my sense of humor, etc., right? Watching that content, probably a bit younger than I should be watching content with that much, sexual innuendo, swearing, etc. And yet I probably wouldn't change that, and I wouldn't want to take, or Smosh, for example, but I wouldn't want to take that away from myself because holy fuck, would that be sad, you know? But at the same time, we do need to limit, like, we do need to start limiting our kids' access to the internet. Like, that is a thing that needs to happen. The problem is, like, I can make that statement all day, right? Like, I can say, we need to do this, we need to do that all day, but, like, practically, what good is that if I don't have a policy that I can suggest, right? You guys know what I mean? Like there's no policy I could suggest to solve this problem that wouldn't be an absurd infringement on Americans' privacy. It would be insane. Like banning kids from having access to phones would be ridiculous. Like, we should want kids to have phones. Like, shouldn't a kid be able to call their... Like, we should want an 8-year-old to have an iPhone. Because you should want an 8-year-old when they get lost to be able to click call mom on their iPhone and call their mom. But you shouldn't want your 8-year-old to be able to go on 4chan and get groomed by some Nazi pedophile. There's a decent middle ground there. So what do I think is the solution to this? What do I think is the real solution to the TikTok and social media problem? Well, I think targeting the real issues is the real problem. Talking about the fact that social media is addictive doesn't change anything. Let's fight the issue of people doing drugs by going to drug addicts and telling them, hey, you should stop doing drugs. They're pretty addictive, you know? Yeah, it's really... Yeah, you're telling people on YouTube that social media is addictive? That's like going to a crack den to tell people that crack is addictive and they should stop because it's addictive. You're kind of already going after an audience that's too far gone, my friend. How about, since humanity is already hopelessly lost to social media addiction at this point, and there really is no getting the world off of the internet, it's only going to get more and more on the internet as time goes by. How about we start focusing and targeting the aspects of these social media platforms that are such a huge problem? For example, instead of harassing and bullying and shaming kids who are sexualizing themselves on TikTok, which admittedly is really weird and not something I'm happy about, how about instead we start targeting the predators and the content creators on these platforms that are facilitating that content and even grooming these younger creators and users on the platform into producing said content. For example, I guess I'm allowed to say this, acquaintance of mine, The Right Opinion, he follows me on Twitter. If you guys want evidence, I can show you. He doesn't link his...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Right Opinion, the home of a twat with too much free time. And honestly, on this channel, the topics we've covered of recent have been pretty serious in the grand scheme of YouTube things. I like to be serious. I'm a serious, brooding person. I am the Batman of YouTube, minus the excessive riches. So I thought...
Wait! I'm sorry. Hold on. God damn it. Wait! He does not link his Twitter in his YouTube, which is cringe, but I will search it on Twitter. Last I checked, he did follow me. If he follows me on Twitter, I can say he's an acquaintance. Those are the rules. This is what I think represents good content that takes down this problem. It's a bit older, I know, but it's talking about a TikTok predator that I believe might still be active. There are more recent videos. I just think this is a better example in terms of production quality. And you know, Upper Echelon Gamers is absolutely capable of producing content with this level of production quality at shorter length. Absolutely no doubt. But this is what I find to be much more useful because you are spreading awareness about a specific problem that can actually realistically be solved in the short term that will significantly minimize the amount of harm caused by the, let's be real, basically unsolvable problem of social media addiction. I'm sorry, but reducing the harm caused by social media addiction is going to be a lot more easy than solving social media addiction. I don't think solving social media addiction is even possible, frankly. Not without like some authoritarian 1984 level government overreach. like involving like phone and internet curfews or something, like some China level shit, like beyond what China is doing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Right Opinion, the home of a twat with too much free time. And honestly, on this channel, the topics we've covered of recent have been pretty serious in the grand scheme of YouTube things. I like to be serious. I'm a serious, brooding person. I am the Batman of YouTube, minus the excessive riches. So I thought, you know what? We'll do something more fun. Something more upbeat. Something that the child-friendly twats at YouTube would endorse. TikTok. I mean,
if I were to compare myself to any like superhero as a YouTuber, I'd have to compare myself to Spider-Man because he's broke as shit and depressed. And that's about as relatable as it gets.
I mean, what seriously can be said about that? It'll get me rated E for every single little git who wants to click on my videos. Yeah, I'm looking at you, little scallywag. You're watching The Right Opinion now. Yeah, today we're putting out all the stops to get Susan's endorsements.
Who remembers Team 10? Who remembers Team 10? Your Miles Morales. Who was more broke, though? Miles Morales or Peter Parker? I feel like I never thought of Miles Morales as being that, like, broke of a character, you know? Like, Peter Parker, you know, that motherfucker is broke as hell. I feel like Miles Morales kind of, like, had more going for him. Miles' dad is a cop, he's working. But not, like Spider-Man gets evicted once a year. I don't know. We're not stun locking on the superhero shit. Anyway, I find content that specifically targets actual, like, people and issues like that exist in the space to minimize the harm caused by the, let's be real, unsolvable problem of social media addiction to be far more effective than just pushing out propaganda that's meant to implicitly blame the crazy libs of TikTok for making the young lib teens into trans fake disability having SJWs. Because that's, I know that sounds harsh what I just said, but that is actually a perfect paraphrasing of what these people believe. I'm sorry, but it is. That's what they believe. They believe that, like, these TikTok teens are all mentally ill, and that mental illness has been pushed on them by the crazy, radical LGBT groomer adults that are pushing fake mental illnesses on them and fake eating disorders and fake mental disorders and whatnot onto them because they think it's trendy and making them trans and gay. And like, that's genuinely, unironically, what these people think TikTok is doing. If you could peer into their minds, into their deepest, darkest opinions, that is unironically what they believe. Do you want to know how I know that, though, chat? Do you want to know how I know that? That's what I believed Tumblr was back when I was a reactionary. I know exactly how these people think, and TikTok is basically just the new Tumblr. If you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like. I would really appreciate it if you did. It helps both the segment, the video, my channel, and me out more than you even realize. It's completely free. It takes like half a second. So definitely please consider hitting the like button. Definitely. And of course, if you haven't already and you want to talk in my chat and you want to hang out and you want to see more from my content and you want to support me, please consider subscribing and ring the bell icon so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload any new content. Also, don't forget to follow my social media, all linked down below. And of course, if you want to support me financially, you can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub over on my website, xanderhall.com/live. You can donate, subscribe, or gift a sub over on YouTube, Twitch, through Streamlabs, or you can support me through Patreon. But no matter how you support me, whether it be through a like, comment, view, or even a financial donation, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.